Everyone for coming here. This is my first time here, so I'm excited. That's fine. Perfect. No? if you can, though. Thank you. So my name is Amazd. Let's see. So just a quick background, I work as a software engineer at a payment startup called Plastic. I'm also a grad student at Tufts. The reason that actually I'm here today is a sort of idea that I've sort of been percolating in my mind in the last 6 months. It's been an interesting thing. I consider myself sort of a power user as far as reading content or consuming content online. So I probably go through hundreds, if not thousands, of articles, essays, interviews, whatever, every week. Read them, find them interesting. So out of these, there's a good percentage of them that I find interesting and intriguing sort of highlights in there. There might be a paragraph in there that I find interesting. There might be something else that I sort of is interesting enough that I want to save that instead of saving the entire page, right? So I was thinking, is there any service out there, or is it something that I have to build? So, and then later on, as it sort of evolved, I thought about why can't I extend this to ebooks? You read ebooks, you find interesting highlights, you want to store that, save that. There are obviously already solutions out there, but nothing that sort of aggregates the whole thing into one simple service. So you see sort of this sort of behavior where people share little articles on Facebook, let's say, right? They have a blurb on top, and then a link to the article. The blurb is usually the interesting part of the article they found. And they want other people to know that this is an article I found interesting, this is why it's interesting, and you should read it too. So they share that. So you see this sort of behavior already out there. Not the best way to do it through Facebook, obviously. Also in ebooks, so iAnnotate PDF. How many people here know what it is? A couple, I guess, not very many, but it's a great, one of the best applications. Probably literally the only reason I got an iPad. It essentially lets you read PDFs or any kind of ebooks on the iPad, and it lets you highlight, it lets you export the PDF, the highlights as well, a whole bunch of other stuff. So it's $10, but literally it was the only reason I bought it. And then you see you have these capabilities. You can highlight a piece of text. With Kindle books at least, it lets you highlight and then it goes into this Amazon cloud. You don't have access to it anymore, right? With this, it's more sort of decentralized. You get to have your own highlights. And the problem with iAnnotate is they haven't gone that extra step where they let you export your highlights so you can have it in a central repository. Oh, it's very clunky. I can go over that later. So the idea essentially was storage of these interesting sort of content you find online in a sort of across web, ebooks, for now, but maybe other mediums that you want to talk about later. Built for power users and regular users. So if I read this many articles, I want it to be really simple. I want it to be intuitive. I want to be able to share this, so there's a social aspect to it. I want other people to know that here's what I've built. You should check it out, maybe, or let other people follow me. Or maybe I should follow a politician or a professor as they read along interesting articles and they sort of highlight interesting parts of it. So there's inspirations. Pinterest came out in 2010. That I think gave a lot of people ideas about how to do this sort of collecting online. You want to go find an image, sort of collect it, and then put it in your profile. A lot of people sort of follow you. Amazon Kindle, as I said, they sort of have this idea, they do this. So there are solutions out there that do this, but none of them were good enough really. So I built Amazd essentially. So I want to just basically show a video, if I could. But we don't have time to actually go through a demo. That will walk through the demo. Would you have the video already? So essentially, it's pretty easy. You go online, you can sign up very easily, just quickly. Then when you've signed up, you can install a simple sort of extension. This is cross-platform. Firefox, Chrome, whatever. all the major browsers are supported essentially. So you install this extension, and then once you've done that, you can go around anywhere on the web essentially, any sort of article, and as you find interesting chunks of text, you just highlight it, you select it, and then you say highlight, right? So, and then that saves it into the sort of the service. The same sort of thing you can do with books, obviously, right? So you go into a book, you make it highlight, and then you want to sort of export it. And this is iAnnotate. Nothing else exists for it already, so this is the only service essentially. You go online, you select it, you highlight it, then you email that to a sort of specific email that this service provides you, and that aggregates it again as well. And it gives you a profile like this, where it shows you all these sort of interesting paragraphs. I guess I'm done. So that's essentially it. I hope some of you guys find it interesting enough to go and use it. Thank you.
Catalog in the source of where you got everything from as well?
Yes, so if you know where it came from, what sort of the title of that article was essentially. So you give a good sort of a context around where that highlight came from, exactly. Yes? Right, so other solutions exist for that already, I feel. There are a lot of these sort of research-based solutions where you go around and collect things and sort of you aggregate them and you sort of export a source sort of format. This, in my mind, wasn't sort of built for that. It's very much more of a, the social aspect of it is sort of very big for me. So you wouldn't use, let's say, Twitter for that sort of thing. You wouldn't go aggregate this stuff. This is where you go around, read interesting articles online, you highlight it, which is you found interesting, and you want others to know that you found this interesting so they can follow you because they know, I don't know, if you're a professor, right, they know you know something in your field, and they want to follow what you're reading and you're finding interesting. So this sort of tool may be able to use for that sort of purpose, but it wasn't in my mind when I built it, and there are already sort of other solutions that exist for that, so, yes.
Can you create private groups currently, say co-workers with this committee and friends with that interest and that sort of?
So I believe in this sort of public nature of this service, where I feel like letting people make it. I mean, right now it doesn't. So a quick answer. Right now there is no way to do that. Obviously, easy to implement, right? But as I said, I believe in this sort of public nature of it, where I want people to read, select, highlight, and then share what they're reading and finding interesting online. So if it was up to me, I wouldn't implement that feature, but if obviously enough requests are there, it will be an interesting sort of feature to implement as well. Yes?
Yes, so you started to promote it, and how are we?
Yeah, so this is one of the ways I'm promoting it. This has been a side project for the last 3 months. So I'm a full-time worker, obviously. I work on this on weekends, holidays, whenever I get time. So it hasn't really reached that sort of MVP sort of stage where I've been comfortable promoting it. This is probably the first time I've come out and really promote it in a big way. So I want to go around, probably I'll be promoting more, maybe even market it more to see if there is actually any sort of a want for the service. I mean, it's a very early stage. I've shown it to my friends. Most of them love it. Some of them are using it. So I feel like there's great hope for this. Yeah.
So what practical real-world applications do you see something like this being utilized for? Like education realm, research realm?
So I guess essentially this is research mostly. Ultimately, I would really love if all the major browsers supported this as a standard, so I wouldn't have to install an extension for this, right? So this would be part of the right click, right? How they have search Google for this, you would just say highlight this, right? This would be part of the sort of the browser itself as they come out. And then you could actually provide services you want this highlights to be synced with, right? So, but the real purpose of this, as you said, is probably for both researching activity, if you want to go around and find interesting things, research it, or if you just want to sort of let other people follow what you're reading, essentially. Twitter is not the best way, I feel like, to do that. A lot of people are sort of abusing Twitter for that purpose. So last question, I guess no more questions. One more, yes?
Yeah, is the extension stored such that if you revisit the article, it's still visibly highlighted or not?
Not currently, but can be. I mean, it's easy to implement, obviously, right? Thank you, everyone.